In preparing this morning, when I was first asked to talk this morning, I thought, online. I'm not the online person. I saw Kathy Burnett and thought, I'm not going to talk about our online services because we too are a partner of iSANS. I'm not the communications person, so I really wanted to talk this morning about what excites me and the parts of really the use of technology that I'm most involved in, which is around working smarter, not harder. From smartboards in the classroom to online courses and sophisticated databases, technology is rapidly changing the way we do things. As funding is becoming tighter and reporting requirements among funders increase or new issues emerge, technology becomes an even more important tool in mitigating workload and providing insight at multiple scales. This morning I want to draw on examples from the implementation of our corporate database, as well as planning for the arrival of Syrian refugees, exploring the way technology has allowed us to do this. Like many organizations, ISS of BC's first forays into database delivery were funder-driven. As new programs launched, we created formal and informal means of collecting data with varying degrees of sophistication, from Excel sheets to formal databases. 2 years ago, we realized we had 13 databases, none of which had the opportunity and the ability to talk to one another. So any actual analysis at the organizational level really was quite time-consuming, and you were never confident that you had gotten rid of all of the duplicate clients. You had to make certain assumptions which we weren't comfortable with. Our organization has 16 offices across Metro Vancouver, plus offices in Squamish and the interior. Many of our organizational databases at the time stored information on office-based servers, which could be located up to an hour or more away. So upload times were extremely slow. To alleviate this and ensure that the clients didn't suffer from long wait times, we often ask staff to complete paper copies and then send them to a service assistance for data entry. Without access to the server-based database, however, staff had to develop multiple ways to store information on their own, either through notebooks, Excel sheets, or on calendars, so that when the client came back, they could access information on what services they had provided, what follow-up was to be taken. The inability for databases to communicate with each other also affected clients directly, as they were often required to repeat key tombstone information, everything from their name, their contact information, language, country of origin, every time they accessed a new program, a new office, or in some cases, a new worker. The repatriation of settlement funding to CIC in 2014 and increased information demands related to iCare really offered the opportunity to introduce an online corporate database. Over the last 2 years, we've managed to reduce our databases from 13 to 3, with the eventual goal of including all of our programs, including the fee-for-service ones. We've been strategic in designing the database, ensuring key tombstone data is collected across all programs. And each program and their funder requirements are set up as a module within the database, and staff are only given access to the fields or the information that they require to do their job. So non-CIC funded programs, for example, would not have access to FOSS numbers, while non-employment programs wouldn't be able to see people's social insurance numbers. The same thing with the way that the information is collected. Within the settlement programs, for example, even within our provincial funding, we use the iCare modules, the way information is collected in iCare, as the basis for how we collect the information, because it allows us to analyze at a far different scale than just funder-related. On the ground, there's less client frustration with having to repeat the information. Clients are happier. Yes, it takes a bit longer to type in sometimes. We try to do everything with click-down menus, but they're happier at not having to repeat the information. We anticipated a lot of pushback. When you had to go in our province, a lot of the information was just very brief and check marks. To the really sophisticated and detailed iCare, we expected a lot of pushback. There certainly was some, but overall the response has been overwhelmingly positive because for the first time, people can go to one place to access all the information they need. Staff working with multiple funders or multiple locations have easy access to the database. And one of the key things that we really stressed with people and part of our intention around using iCare as much of the basis has been that our settlement workers don't have to think about who's funding them. Within the settlement ones, they enter the same information and we query it in the background. So they don't have to think about which one do I have to put this in before they start to serve the clients. It's always about making that process as easy as possible. The database also provides a way to ensure key information, including safety concerns or special accommodation needs, are available to workers regardless of which program someone's in or which location. If an aggressive client is banned from the office or an organization, for example, we use a special note within the database, and whenever the client's profile is accessed, it's always glued to the top line in red so people can click on it and find out the information they need. This has been really beneficial in that sometimes people would distribute information if they were banned from an office, not realizing other people needed that information. The benefit of the departmental and organizational level has been significant, and this is where, for me, my love of data comes in. I wanted to understand within the settlement, we have a number of CIC and non-CIC funded programs. I wanted to understand at a bigger level. So within settlement, for example, last year, we were able to undertake analysis at the staff, city, program, or departmental level, regardless of funder. This has provided us certainly with a much better understanding, which, as many of you also did, was really helpful when we were doing our proposals this year. While some of the information is critical to this planning, so being able to talk about, for example, the top countries of origin, not just about the program, but actually looking across all programs, as well as city of residence. One of the things we discovered is the one city where we're not funded in for settlement orientation and information programs, for example, actually turns out within our CIC contract to be one of the top 5 cities of residence. So it allowed us to understand where our clients were actually coming from. We had another city where the number of people that we're providing services to is actually 3 times the number of clients who actually listed that city as a city of residence. So again, people are coming in to the city to access information. But we also needed a way to get people excited get people to understand that the data they're entering isn't a burden, that it's actually part of telling the story, and that each of us as settlement providers needs to tell a story to funders, to the public, to our boards, and to our management. So at a meeting last month, we provided kind of a fiscal year 1 for us after our repatriation in review. We provided some of the information. It was kind of fun. We discovered, for example, that regardless of funder, the average birthday of settlement clients, regardless of funder, is June 17th, 1974. Not overly helpful, but you know what? It started to get people to understand this is. Or in one of the cities, being able to say, you know what? As we put up the top 5 cities of residence, which is not a CIC required, I was able to get part of the story across by explaining that actually unknown is our number 4. Getting people to understand, getting people to be able to see across programs, to be able to put up a map of here's the top 5 countries of origin across settlement, was helpful in getting people to begin to understand their role in collecting that data and telling that story, and understanding the differences between our programs within settlement. So while RAP is all GARs, we have other programs that really work primarily with economic immigrants. So getting people to start understanding that they were one part of a bigger whole. Another area of analysis we increasingly turned our attention to is outcomes. So although clients have always completed paper copies when they're doing group services or individual surveys, we realized, again, we wanted to be able to look at this at the macro level. So this year, we started out a bit of a trial doing an online multilingual outcomes for all of settlement. We'll do it again early in the new year. It was delayed a bit this fall by certain other developments. But we also want to be able to, again, look at that beyond the individual. So right now, those individual roll-ups, when people do groups, the staff rolls them up, they give them to the manager, but they're not really at the larger level. So we've created another module in our database that allows staff to now go in, enter what the event was, how many responses they had, and then go to click down our list of outcomes and be able to say, yes, I asked this question, or no, I didn't. And if it's yes, how many yes responses, how many no? So by the end of next year, we'll actually be able to talk about outcomes again, with some of them consistent across programs, really at the departmental scale. The continuous improvement of our services is really key to ensuring clients receive the support they require. It can't be 2 minutes. I want to talk about Syria. Dave, I'm following your lead. Okay, so I'm going to totally drop that. You get it. Data's important. I like data. But you know what? There's another tool that we use. So about a year ago, our IT introduced Office 365 Online. Don't know how many people have used it. I think it's brilliant. When the government announced that we were going to resettle 25,000 Syrians by the end of the year, we realized that the number we'd receive would be approximately 3 times our annual target, likely within a 4 to 6 week period. So we realized 3 things. 3 times our service, British Columbians really wanted to help, and there was no money available to do anything we needed to do at this time. We're assured it's coming, but our response had to be now. We started getting offers of assistance from everywhere. So we set up a 1-800 number, we set up an email, and we put out a call to action. Chris talked about it yesterday, thankfully we had done a bit of planning around collecting the data first, or it would have been really overwhelming. To manage the workload, we wanted to create surveys. We created one for housing, one for employment leads, and one for volunteers. And then later a 4th one to manage phone calls. We went through various options. The first one that communications really wanted us to use was online fillable documents. My concern was, you have to download it, fill it out, save it, and then email it. And then on our side, somebody actually has to be assigned to be able to manage those resources. So we had a second idea. We thought online fillable. But apparently it takes time and money that we didn't have to be able to develop that. We thought about SurveyMonkey. Can I have 2 minutes? Really? Fast, thank you. Because if you've never used Excel survey, I have to tell you about it. We ended up using Excel survey. How many people know about that? No one. Okay, this is your new best friend. Excel survey, we were able to set up 3 surveys in less than an hour, send out a link, and you can save them. The surveys are updatable, so even while the survey's live, I can log in, I can change the survey, move it around, add questions, change options, without actually stopping the data collection. This was important because really quickly we switched from Vancouver to province-wide. There's no additional cost. It's already part of the subscription. There's no limit on services. So unlike SurveyMonkey, you don't pay by respondent. It's really good. We've got about 10,000 responses. When the surveys come in, they're all stored as a row on an Excel sheet behind the scenes. So it makes it really easy to analyze the data. You've put it in table format. You can move it around, sort it, do what you need to do with it. There's a built-in mapping feature within Office 2013 Excel. So we can not only do that, we can very quickly change that over and map it. So within the week, we'll be putting out a map of projected settlement patterns based on the existing housing leads. And behind the scenes, we can move things around. We can share files, unshare files at ease. This was important. The first weekend, usually we have about 800 to 1,000 volunteers. First weekend, we had 800. So it was really easy to actually stop sharing with somebody before they could see that, figure out a plan of how we were going to manage the data, and then talk to the person before we started sharing again. I'll stop there. I had a few other things to say. Apparently I got sidetracked. Thank you for your patience and for letting me take a bit more time. Thanks.